Oh, good evening and welcome to the Gold Goats and Guns Hour here on YouTube and DLive. My name is Tom Luongo. It's Monday, it's September 16th, it's 2019. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on in the world. Way too much going on in the world, and I need to make sure I've got my notes actually set up properly so I am on target tonight. So how is everybody? I hope you're all well. I hope you all had a great weekend. As good a weekend as you can have, given the events in Saudi Arabia over the weekend. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. Uh-oh, I didn't change the title of the stream again tonight, did I? Well, here we go. Already behind the curve. Trump the slap over Saudis. All right, we'll get this going here in just a second. All right, so let that do its thing. All right, so yeah, behind the goat, as I always am. So we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard's bitch slap of Donald Trump. We're going to talk about what happened over the we're going to talk about what happened over the weekend, what I think is going on. We're going to talk about why I think this is one of the worst setups of all time, to be honest with you. And before we do that, though, of course, as always, if you like what you hear tonight, please give a like and subscribe down below. If you're watching this now, retweet, share, like, do the whole 9 yards. You guys know the drill. I really need the exposure, and would really enjoy the larger audience, even though all that will do is bring the censors down that much harder. But, you know, when you're speaking truth to power, that's what you risk. And without risk, there is no reward. So you can follow my work over at tomluongo.me. You can follow me on Twitter at TFL1728. You can read my work weekly over at strategicculture.com.org, as well as moneyandmarkets.com. So let's get right to it. And of course, you can donate or hang out or any of those things. There's links down below, as well as sign up for the Gold Goats and Guns Investment newsletter, which comes out monthly, and tomorrow will be the latest issue. Where I tie all of this up into a nice, tight kind of investment thesis and portfolio strategy for you to make sense of a world going completely freaking mad. Now, on to what happened over the weekend. I don't have any more information than anybody else has. As a matter of fact, I steadfastly refuse to find out any more information than I need to on a certain level. It's like I'm almost saying I'm going to parade my ignorance on this matter in front of everybody, and I'm still going to wind up being right. Now, that sounds like a terribly arrogant thing to do, but you know something? It's easier. It's better that way sometimes, because if you read the people and you read the signals coming from the people who are involved in this, it's pretty obvious what's happening. All right, so let's start with the basics. We're not going to talk about JP Morgan for a while yet, so we know what the current. I'll talk about JP Morgan later. We'll get to that later. So what's important here is look at the people involved, look at the order of events, just like we did after the Global Hawk drone was shot down in the middle of June. Now, I've been sparring with some of my people over on my private Slack server that my patrons have access to if they sign up on Patreon. And we've been sparring about what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, what the likelihoods are, and everything else. And at the end of the day, I'll say two things. We know what happened in Saudi Arabia over the weekend. Somebody precision struck a bunch of the Saudis' oil processing facilities at their at the biggest oil processing facility in the world, taking off upwards of half of the Saudis' actual production offline. Now, for the next 5 days, it won't matter. For the next month, it could matter. One I saw from the satellite photographs, and Bernard over at Moon of Alabama has a good post up on all this stuff. He just put out a couple of hours ago. I highly recommend everybody go over there and check it out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's moonofalabama.org. All one word, no hyphens, no dash. And Bernard does a great job over there of trying to figure out what's going on. And my worry here is we are not out of the woods yet, even given what Donald Trump said this afternoon about wanting to wait until he gets all the information in. That is Trump code for I don't want to go to war. And he even said, I don't want to go to war. But he's willing to leave all options on the table because he's a U.S. president and he's not allowed to say anything otherwise. Now, that being said, Trump is going to be paraded with a Penelope. I'm going to get that word wrong, so I'm not going to use it. With a myriad of a variety of bullshit to prove to him that Iran did this and that they need to be hit. And that the same people that were trying to get him to go to war when they shot the drone down and fed him bad information and made him look bad in the initial shot. Because remember, these things always happen on a weekend or close to a weekend. And then Trump gets the information and doesn't do and is expected to respond in the immediate aftermath. And he always does with overly strong rhetoric, because that's what Trump does. And then he comes back and says later on, well, you know, because it's pretty obvious at this point that he's learned his lesson from what they did to him with the chemical weapons attack at Khan Shaykhun, which led to the bombing at al-Sharat back in April of 2017, which touched off all of this stuff. So I think smorgasbord would have been a great word, but the word is panoply, I think. A panoply is the word I was looking for earlier, and I was going to say it wrong, so I just kind of stopped it. But the but cacophony kind of works as well, tension, so we'll go with that. All right. So in the immediate aftermath of the event, they were trying desperately to get Trump to overcommit immediately and do the thing and go and do something that he couldn't come back from. Now, that threat isn't passed. In my heart of hearts, do I think that Donald Trump is trying to keep us out of a war with Iran? Yes, I do. Am I sanguine about his ability to do so and to resist his deep state handlers? No, I'm not. That's what you have to constantly weigh in your head. Because as I tweeted out last night after I was looking this thing over, I said, look, who benefits here? And I've got a blog post about 3/4 finished that I need to finish up before I go to bed tonight. Who benefits here? Does Iran benefit from this? Did Bashar al-Assad benefit from gassing civilians at Khan Shaykhun when he was winning the war? No. Okay? Never. Iran doesn't benefit when everything is beginning to break their way. When Trump is firing John Bolton and making offers of talks, and all of these things are happening. And him trying to break the shackles of the neoconservatives and the deep state that surround him and refuse to let him do his job as president, which is to be the chief negotiator for the United States. Similar to how British Parliament is acting vis-a-vis Boris Johnson, by the way. What a shock. It's the same people, by the way. It's the same people behind both of these things. All of these things. Okay? And Iran doesn't benefit from this, but who does? We all know that the Saudi Arabians need $80 to $85 a barrel oil to balance their budget and to stop the cash flow bleeding that's going on. They were losing money this year at the rate of 7% of GDP at an average price of $75 a barrel of oil for the last 12 months. What's it going to look like when it's 60 or 55 or 50 or, as I'm predicting, 35 to 40? The Saudi Arabian government collapses. U.S. frackers need $60 a barrel and zero-bound interest rates, which Trump is lobbying for, but they also need around $60 a barrel, along with those things, along with those conditions, in order to continue to be cash flow negative, but still get everybody to buy their freaking stupid debt and keep the party running for a couple more years, you know, until the margin call comes. And then when the margin call comes, oh, well, you know, shit, put the corks back in the champagne, let's get out of here. Oop, the jig is up and gone, right? So that's the situation, right? That's the benefit here. That's the first line of this. The second leg of this is who else benefits from this? Tomorrow, Israel goes to the polls, and Benjamin Netanyahu is in the fight for his political life. Polls have him down a point or two, or up a point, depending on the poll, and then at the end of the day, Netanyahu keeps trying to make the point that no one else can negotiate with Trump, that nobody else can stand up to Iran or any of these things. So, hey, manufacture a hit on Saudi Arabia and try and blame Iran for it? Would Bibi do that? No, he would never do that. He's our best friend. Would Jared Kushner tell his father-in-law bullshit given to him by Bibi Netanyahu, who will bail his sorry ass out? No, and slept in his bed when he was a kid and visited Washington. Netanyahu used to sleep in Kushner's room, for Christ's sake. He used to stay at the Kushner house. Yeah, you know, I gave up my bed to my grandparents my grandfather when I was a kid. I didn't give my bed up to Uncle Bibi. So, that's the situation. I mean, it's crazy what's happening here. And you see this happen on the weekend before the Israeli elections. It's kind of like the murder of Joe Cox the weekend before the Brexit vote. Okay? There's nothing suspicious about any of these things, right? Not at all. John Bolton gets fired on Wednesday. Netanyahu goes to... There's rumors floating about that Donald Trump's going to meet with Rouhani on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Then Netanyahu goes to Moscow and begs Putin to allow him to continue bombing Syria. And Putin finally tells him to go stuff it. The Russian air crews in Syria will shoot his F-16s down. Not reported here in the United States. Got to get that freaking news from RT or Sputnik. Put on my Rachel Maddow face for a second. Fucking cunt. So, and then on Saturday, miraculously, a miracle occurs. There's an attack on the biggest oil field in Saudi Arabia. Now look, I already said multiple times in previous articles recently that the Houthis proved a month ago that they can attack Saudi Arabia anywhere they want. The Saudi air defenses do not have the ability to stop this. And this operation could have been in planning for months and it just happened to hit today. This could have been timed on purpose to make Netanyahu look bad and to make the Saudis look bad on the eve of the elections and trying to get Netanyahu reelected so then they can put forth, so then the United States can finally put forth their Palestinian surrender plan. Deal of the century. We can have all these things happen. And the Houthis turn around and go, no, fuck a whole lot of that. Take 6 million barrels of oil off the market. Let's really remind everybody what's going on in Yemen. I know you're shocked to hear that the mainstream media in the United States and in Britain and in Europe, they withhold information from us. Did you not know that? I know you're shocked to find that. Pull the other leg and plays fucking Jingle Bells. All right, so I don't discount the Houthis doing this. Fuck, I don't even discount Iran doing this and throwing enough shade on the whole freaking thing to go, yeah, we didn't do it. Piss on you and you can't figure it out. But the truth of the matter is the reality is the following. Is Europe condemning Iran? No. Is Israel even saying anything? No. That's your big fucking tell. They did it. By the way, that's what I think. Because they're the ones not saying anything. Saudi Arabia, yeah. And even they're like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, it was Iran. Kinda, maybe. I think they came from Iraq, though. So, I don't know. Yeah, it's all kind of hazy. We can see fucking license plates from space, but these people are trying to tell me they can't track a fucking cruise missile. We've had this technology since the 70s, by the way. I just want everybody to remember that. We can see license plates from fucking space, but we can't see cruise missiles all of a sudden. Bullshit. They know exactly who did this and why. That's the point. And the simple fact of the matter is that since they can't give you a straight answer as to what actually happened, that's the biggest tell that they know exactly what happened and that they fucking did it. Period. Occam's razor, baby. The technology is here. Everybody can see this stuff with commercial grade freaking access to satellite data, for fuck's sake. You can see these things happen in real time. Bullshit that this is some kind of that if cruise missiles left Bandar Abbas and traveled across the Persian Gulf, the most heavily trafficked piece of real estate in the world, where Navy CENTCOM is in Bahrain, for fuck's sake. If that's what's going on here, how in the fuck did cruise missiles make it into the northeastern part of Saudi Arabia? Bullshit. Bullshit. Oh, by the way, bullshit. That's it. It's just done. So that's not what happened here. Someone else benefits, and it ain't Iran. We know who benefits here. We're not allowed to talk about it. Ain't it great being an American? You get to pay for it too. Oh, by the way. Isn't it great? Isn't it great? I love being American. Jesus. As Mark Bogosian reminds us, who bought all those oil stocks an hour before the close on Friday? Yeah, the people who knew that the frickin' missiles were coming in on Saturday. Who made a killing this morning? Oil up $12 a barrel. Settled down up 11%. Going to collapse afterwards, by the way, because Trump's not going along with this, because Trump doesn't want $90 a barrel oil, because Trump's not a complete moron. He may be impulsive. He may be a narcissist. He may be a bully. Jesus. I love being American. This is great. Ain't this great? This is great. God damn it, how can you say that? I'm a baby boomer, damn it. We've God, I can do the freaking Owen Benjamin routine all freaking night doing this shit. Oh my God. God damn, I'm a baby boomer. And you don't have any right to say that. We fought, we stopped the war, damn it. Like, Jesus Christ, get over yourself. It's so very freaking obvious. Now to the best part of the evening. For those of you, because I did say that I would talk about Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm here, 15 minutes in, and I know all you Democrats are hoping that I'm actually, or 18 minutes in, you're hoping I actually talk about Gabbard. Gabbard, for her part, fucking killed it today. Calling Trump Saudi Arabia's bitch on Twitter. Fucking killed it. And then she doubled down and went on the freaking campaign trail and said it again and again and again. It's beautiful. It's exactly what she needs to do. She's been all way too nice, to be honest with you. If you want my honest opinion from a strategy standpoint, no. A little bit of acid in with that aloha, baby. Never hurts. A little lemon juice with the aloha. Never hurts. You know, pineapples are tart if you don't let them ripen. So, a beautiful thing she's saying that today, because her dissection, I don't know if you guys saw the video or not, her dissection of Trump's tweet from over the weekend about, well, we think we know who did it, and we're waiting on the Saudis, and then we're going to confer with them to let them tell us what we should do. I read that tweet, and I was like, yeah, fuck a whole lot of you, dude. You're the commander-in-chief of the United States military. You make the decisions about what happens with our troops, not the fucking Saudi grabastic pieces of amphibian shit. Fuck those people. They don't get to set policy for the United States. They've been setting policy for the United States for too damn long. We're energy independent, as you so rightly point out, Mr. Trump. We don't need their fucking oil, but we need them to sell their oil in dollars, do we not? That's the key. And we need them to buy our crappy freaking weapons, which can't stop a $10,000 freaking Houthi drone from skimming the fucking surface and bombing oil assets all over the Middle East. Moreover, if anybody actually thinks that Trump is dumb enough, no. Trump is dumb enough to start a war with Iran. And if he's dumb enough to believe that we have enough coverage in the area that if we bomb Iran back to the Stone Age, I said this in June, we can bomb Iran back to the Stone Age. We can set off 6 or 7 EMPs across the east coast, west coast of Iran, wipe it back to the Dark Ages, for fuck's sake. No problem. Whole thing would collapse overnight. In the process, that every Iranian proxy and every missile that they have would fly across the entire Middle East. And I'm telling you right now, thousands of U.S. troops will die. Thousands. And the war will not be over then, because then you have to turn Yemen into a parking lot. Then you got to turn Syria into a parking lot. Then you got to turn half of Turkey into a parking lot. I mean, the whole thing just gets out of control. Lebanon, the whole thing gets out of control almost immediately. And Israel gets leveled. Leveled. That's what's on the table. And Tulsi Gabbard was absolutely correct in saying, how in the hell can you be commander-in-chief and subordinate our troops, my brothers and sisters? She lays it on a little thick with the my brothers and sisters thing, but I get it. She's military. How can you subordinate American troops to the will of Saudi Arabia or Israel or anybody else? You're the commander-in-chief. We signed up to defend the United States. Bombing Iran is not defending the United States. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, fuck you, motherfucker. Festian says the only way for Trump to escape the Israeli traps and provocations is to make peace with Iran. And I said it better myself. And he did it without swearing. No, I'm serious. Now, he's right. And Trump realizes, I honestly believe that Trump realizes this at a certain level, but he's too trapped and cannot get out of it. It's too big a machine, and he can't stop it. Every time he attempts to, every time peace has a chance to break out, somebody has to die. Some provocation has to happen. Something has to get attacked. Somehow we have to prove to the world that Iran is a goddamned menace. The menace is Saudi Arabia. The menace are the rogue elements within the United States government. The menace is the rogue elements within the British government and the European governments. The menace is in Israel. We all know it. So fucking stop it. Because you're not gonna change our minds about this. You know, we're not gonna wake up one morning and you're gonna finally give us the smoking gun that proves that Ayatollah Khamenei is really fucking Dr. Evil. It's not gonna happen. But desperate people facing existential threats to their power and their prestige and their health are going to do everything imaginable to turn every situation into a Hobson's choice of it can suck or it can suck worse. Choose. Take suck? For 200, Alex? Well, you don't want more suck for 400? Done. No, I'll take suck for 200, Alex. I'm good with that. And Putin comes out today after meeting with Rouhani of Iran and Erdogan of Turkey, comes out and says, oh, just about Saudi Arabia. The Quran says that, you know, you have the right to defend yourself against anybody who aggresses you or your people. And we support that. And we support Saudi Arabia unequivocally on that. That's why we're willing to send them and sell them S-400s to defend themselves against unwarranted attacks on their people. Because they are the best in the world. He's saying the whole thing with a shit-eating grin on his face. Erdogan is laughing his ass off. I've never seen Hassan Rouhani laugh. Like, belly laugh. That kind of belly laugh. The Iranian foreign minister lost his shit. It was awesome. I think it was the best moment in geopolitics in quite a long time. Quinn says, kosher barley is expensive. I love the Quinn memes, guys. I really do. It's really funny. All right. All right, let's go back and let's look at some comments and whatnot. But remember here, Tulsi Gabbard is killing it here. I know I'm beginning to see some verbiage, some people talking and saying they really think that she's going to wind up being the nominee at the end of the day. Now, I was going over the field again this afternoon with a friend of mine, and we were talking about this and strategizing, and we just looked at the field and said, if it's not going to be Bernie Sanders, which it's not, because the DNC will never allow Bernie Sanders to run as their candidate because he's not a member of their party. One of the problems of being an independent. The only other one that on that stage that makes any sense whatsoever is Elizabeth Warren. That's who they're putting their money behind. They think Elizabeth Warren is the only chance they have, is the best chance they have, because Joe Biden, 14 months from now, Joe Biden is going to be, in a home, eating cookies and watching Max Game reruns. That's what he's going to be doing. Okay, he's going to be watching Jeopardy, playing bingo, because that's what he should be doing. His brain is cooked and he's done. Gabbard is in it for the long haul. She has the money. She has the support. She has the people. She's going to go, and she's going to upside surprise in Iowa, and she's going to upside surprise in New Hampshire. Telling you. Biden's not going to win Iowa. He'll be done. He'll be done by the end of New Hampshire. Kamala Harris is in as VP all the way to the end, but the Democrats are not dumb enough to run two women, and that includes Pete Buttigieg. So, that's where we are. And I'm telling you that at a certain level, you can see the argument coming that Gabbard has the staying power to take on Warren once the real debates start and only the primary candidates are left. And they can't ignore her because she's still in the race. They can't say, well, there's too many people out there. There's only three of you. There's you, Kamala Harris, and there's three women on the stage and Bernie Sanders. So, not a dick among you. Let's do this, right? I mean, Bernie may be a guy, but seriously. But yeah, I mean, if they want to make sure that every black man in America stays home, yeah, go ahead, run Warren and Harris. You want to lose Pennsylvania so much that you can't print enough votes to try and win Philadelphia? Run Warren and Harris. You're right, Camille. Biden-Trump debate would be a hoot, but I'd much rather see Trump and Gabbard. I'd much rather see Warren versus Gabbard on the debate stage. That I'd watch. Looking at the Democratic primaries, how could you not ask the question, why would any man vote for this party? It's a really good question. I'm trying to figure it out because there's no way I'd vote for any of them. Biden-Trump debate. I know. I mean, that's good pay-per-view, right? Yeah, I know Tulsi sang Harris. That's why they're not letting her back. They're not letting her back because they know she's dangerous. They know she has real support, not fake support, not stuff that the mainstream media is telling them. All right, let's go back and look at the thing. The House of Sodomy. Yep, I know. Yeah, Pompeo may lie, cheat, and steal, but he'd never lie about war. Come on, it's too serious, right? This is my shocked face. Exactly. All right, let's see what else we got back here. All right, so I've had two comments about it, and I'm going to talk about it now. So according to Zero Hedge, JP Morgan may be hit with a RICO act on gold trading. It's not Zero Hedge. They got it from Bloomberg. I read the Bloomberg article this afternoon. And the Bloomberg article was doing everything imaginable to try and say that the Department of Justice was overstepping its bounds. And how could it possibly go after JP Morgan for this? Because these things never go anywhere and the government always loses. I wonder why the government always loses. Oh, that's because the Southern District of New York is the most corrupt court district in the world. And the bankers own them all. And Trump still hasn't cleaned it up. But that's not what this is about. Okay. If you want to know what this is about, I'll tell you. This is very simple. It's the worst kept secret in markets that JP Morgan manipulates the metals markets on the COMEX through their trading desk. Which of the major banks is a big player in the Trump administration? And which of the major banks is seemingly never seems to get their dude fired? Even though he's terrible at his job. That would be Steve Mnuchin and Goldman Sachs. We're on the verge of a sovereign debt crisis, right? We're on the verge of everything blowing up. Who the hell knows who actually did this? I wouldn't be surprised to see that Goldman was the one who hired the friggin' mercenaries to shoot the friggin' shoot the friggin' drones into the tanks to blow them up, to shoot the price of oil up to $100 a barrel so they can go long today and short the top and come back down tomorrow. This is who these people are. That's who they are. Okay? The scumbags. But we're on the verge of a sovereign debt crisis. Everybody knows it. All the big players know that this shit's about to end. That it's all gonna fall apart. They're not dumb. They see what we see. We're not so insouciant and wise that they don't see this stuff. They're preparing for it. And the big banks in the US and in Europe, and especially in the City of London, are all getting the knives out now. Because someone's going to get knifed and is going to be Mr. Body from Clue. Someone's going to die. Just like Lehman Brothers was sacrificed the last time after Bear Stearns. This time, who's it going to be? You know, for the last 7 or 8 years, I've been saying BOFA. I've been saying, Bank of America or Wells. Wells was always my thought because they're not really a part of the Wall Street clique. Wells is still primarily a West Coast bank. Right? Wells Fargo. Well, that Wells Fargo wagon, right? Come on. It's San Francisco. It's the California Gold Rush, Wells Fargo. So that was always my thought. That would be Wells. And they were in the biggest trouble financially from legacy mortgage assets and whatnot, as far as I understood. But now, this is very simple. This is Bill Barr and Trump's DOJ making it abundantly clear to the New York banks that if you don't support my re-election campaign, I'm putting you all in fucking jail. And I'm going to sue the piss out of you. And 2, Goldman's going to pile on because Goldman wants to take down JP Morgan because JP Morgan Chase is Goldman's biggest competition. So that's what I think is going on here. I don't think it'll go very far beyond that. I think this is all Wall Street dick measuring. But I may be wrong. It would be great. It would be. I wish it were true. I wish someone important would go to jail. I wish the fuck's sake that someone would pull Blythe fucking Masters out of whatever fucking dungeon she's currently torturing her minion in, and slap her ass and fucking pound me in the ass prison. Not that it would be any different than her normal day, but come on. So. Except that dick wouldn't be rubber, I guess. I don't know. All right. Let's see. I don't know. Am I in fuego enough for you guys tonight or what? Yeah, somehow Reckless Abandon reminds us, going back to my point earlier about, well, we can see license plates in space. There they are. But we couldn't see how they couldn't track MH370. Even better. They couldn't find oil. They couldn't find convoys of oil trucks traipsing across the Syrian desert for 3 years. Bullshit. All right. Tulsi sinks battle axes. Tulsi, yeah, I know. So Alder Marble says, hey, let's just put them in a ring already. 2 grandpas in a UFC cage match at this point sounds better than voting. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I almost want to bring dueling back. I just let's give these guys swords, put them in the octagon, and let's have a little bloodletting. Whoever wins, whoever comes out saying it's Thunderdome, whoever comes out wins. You know, hang the weapons on the walls, give them the rubber bands, and go to town. I'd love to see Trump, like, you know, wielding a chainsaw against Joe Biden. It'd be kind of, I don't know. It'd be short. It'd be a short fight. Minuchin the gnome. Yeah, Val Rossi reminds us the Moon of Alabama claims that Russia is the only country that can stop these kinds of attacks, and only barely. They certainly couldn't blanket the whole freaking country. I don't think the Russians could make enough S-400s to cover that much territory. I don't want to talk about Italy tonight, Jonathan. I swear that some days there's a festian that the guys behind South Park do the political casting, and then select the candidates. You may be really kind of right about that. Mark Bogosian says, I have the JPM story right. You see, this is... So, yeah, that's what I think is going on here. This is all just a bunch of political maneuvering, because at the end of the day, I don't think anything's going to happen. But thank you, Mark, for backing me up on that. That was I read the article. My friend of mine sent it to me, texted it to me, and you need to read this. I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen. Fun. And he's like, and then he was confused and he called me up. He's like, dude, what are you talking about? I'm like, let me explain. No, there's too much. Let me sum up. Buttercup marrying Humperdinck in a little less than half an hour. All right. So, where are all the weapons of mass destruction? Hey, I don't know. Life Master's ass? Possibly. All right. Celebrity death match for real. Trump is made for the octagon. He'd be the best heel ever. Tremendous. The image of Trump wielding a chainsaw against Joe Biden is oddly pleasurable. Well, just don't do that in public, okay? I couldn't help it, Jonathan. So this is what happens when I hear the word pleasurable. It's just like it. That's what happens next. All right, so. All right, so we've hit the gutter and then bounced a couple of times after that. Now we're going to come back. No, we're not going to come back now. I mean, I've already got Blythe Masters in a friggin' dungeon somewhere with a minion. I mean, we can't go much lower than that tonight. All right. And for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, Blythe Masters is the woman who created the credit default swap. She's a legend on Wall Street, one of the... she's like the classic feminist. 35. She's running the freaking commodities program over at JP Morgan. She creates the credit default swap. So she's evil incarnate for all of us old gold bugs. Let's just put it that way. Filthy old me. Go G. No. Okay. If there's no war, BB goes to jail. He's never been as desperate to stir up things now than ever. I agree. I agree. And this is the thing about tomorrow's election, is that BB can't lose. Because if he loses, it's the end of not only his political career, but his civilian one as well, because they're going to all of his political opponents will finally just put him in jail. And then everything changes. Who's running against BB right now is a coalition of Benny Gantz and Ehud Barak, if I understand correctly. I may be wrong about that. Please correct me if I'm in the comments. And there's that. So, Putin says Saudi Arabia should buy us 400s. I know that. I mean, yeah, Brett, we covered that a little bit earlier. I'm like, this is the biggest. I never saw Rouhani belly laugh before. And Erdogan was like, there's Putin. You could always just buy us 400s. He was really trying hard not to put the smirk on, but the smirk was all over his face. He couldn't hide it. I'm waiting for Bombard's body language on that one, because, I mean, just for everybody to laugh. Have a good laugh on that one. That'd be great. If Netanyahu goes to jail, I bet all the cameras stop working and all the guards fall asleep, says Senjin. Yeah. So, all right. But, I mean, it's really obvious to me that this is yet another ham-fisted attempt to get Trump to go to war. And, that's where we are. And I'm glad that For right now, Trump is doing what he did after the Global Hawk drone shoot down, but God knows what could happen by Wednesday. And I don't want you to think that we're out of the woods or anything, because these people are relentless and they will stop at nothing to ensure their continued power. They are facing complete and utter extinction. So. Yeah, Rescue Steve says, exactly. This is why Israel may have fired the cruise missiles at the oil complex. Who could prove they did? Nobody. And this is the point, is that, well, this is the fun part about this, is that if Iran has if the cruise missiles did fire from the Persian Gulf, or at least the direction of the Persian Gulf. But even looking at the damage that was done, it doesn't look like cruise missile style damage. It's too small. Right? So, but if the images are there, what if Iran has the information as to what actually happened? Kind of like they did with the Global Hawk drone, where they presented their information to the world, like almost immediately. Today they may actually be sitting on it for a couple of days, knowing full well they're just waiting. Remember with the Global Hawk drone incident, all right? And I'm going to bring you let's go back to June. And then I'm going to go back a little farther than that and say, let's bring up my conversation with Lee Stranahan from a little over a year ago, and James O'Keefe and Andrew Breitbart, which is that when you have really good information, you don't let it all out all at once. You drip it out. Drip, drip, drip. You leak it. You leak the first part of the information. You let them deny it. And then you leak the next bit of information, which contravenes their denial. And they have to change their story again. And then you hit them over the head again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And Iran did this beautifully with the Global Hawk drone. They knew exactly what happened the moment it happened. They knew exactly what was happening, and they let information slip over the course of 5 days, which made Trump look like a fucking idiot. Did it on purpose, and they did it masterfully. And I will not be surprised if we see Iran do that again over this incident, if they have the information. Moreover, they could have been behind the whole thing anyway and told the Houthis that they wanted this done on this date, and then that was that. And Pompeo wouldn't technically be wrong. But it's still the Houthis that did it. And then if Iran can then prove, after Pompeo tried to, make it sound like, oh, it came from the Popular Mobilization Units in Iraq, or it came from Iran, or it came from here, or it came from there. And I'm like, no, it came from, we did it. No, we took credit for it and we did it. And here's the fucking videotape. You guys just look like complete freaking amateur hour at this point. And that's what they're doing. Because the way to beat the United States is to embarrass it. The way to beat the bully is to embarrass the bully. To the point where you can laugh at them, like Putin, Rouhani, and Erdogan were laughing this afternoon. They were laughing openly at the situation. You got beat by $10,000 drones. You took trillions of dollars of capital offline with a couple of $10,000 drones. You could have bought S-400s. But you chose not to. Just like Putin trolled Trump at the friggin' G20 in front of everybody, saying, look, Donald, if you're worried about our hypersonic missiles, we'll sell them to you. And then we're equal. I'll be happy to sell them to you so everybody has them. And that way we don't have to worry about each other's missiles. We know we can each wipe each other off the face of the planet. Trump was seething mad about that. Because, American exceptionist boomer can't handle it. American exceptionalism is a very dangerous disease. It's a very dangerous ideology. And it possesses people like Donald Trump and John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and most of the dispensationalists in freaking Congress, certainly Lindsey Graham and John McCain. But John McCain's American exceptionalism was an ab reaction against his being a fucking traitor. So don't ever forget that shit. So Aren't Patriot batteries based in the USA, in Saudi Arabia? Yes, they are. Which is why Putin smirking and offering to sell them S-400s are hysterical. It's just unbelievably hysterical. Because it's like, you got Patriots. Well, those things suck. Israel's got the Iron Dome. Well, those things suck. Erdogan with Khashoggi did the exact same thing in order to put Saudi Arabia on their back foot, tell Israel to go fuck off, and tell the Americans to stop the bullshit and to stop the attacks on the Turkish lira, which is exactly what happened. Yeah, a cruise missile would do more than put a circle hole in a tank. You're damn right. Ballistic tips on those non-explosive missiles, that's possible. I mean, this was a planned operation. The Russians proved that the Syrian gas attacks were bogus. Did anybody listen? Yeah, they did. Everybody except the United States, the Brits, the French. But they're not everybody. But a lot of the world was listening. Hungary was listening. Italy was listening. Netherlands is listening. Spain is listening. People are listening. The FAA did a warning that you shouldn't load weapons on a drone. Seems like a couple of guys could rig their own missiles. Yes. Patriot missiles have benefited from affirmative action and diversity hiring. Absolutely. It's worth noting that Lindsey Graham was the first to rush to the cameras after the Saudi Arabian refinery attack. Of course he was, because he is, the poster boy for why Washington is Israeli occupied territory, in the immortal words of Pat Buchanan. Remembering that got him excommunicated. Is it just me, or are the provocations and timing of these crises episodes ridiculously obvious now? It's so sloppy, it's tiresome. It truly is, Fun Thing. And that's kind of what I've been working on in the post that I have not quite published yet. And I'm just about ready to do. The Iron Dome is Russian tech from the USSR regimes. They just use US parts, and that's why it doesn't work. The only reason he was the first is because McCain is dead. Moment of silence for John McCain's brain tumor. An American hero. That joke never gets old. Because the best jokes don't age. All right, is there anything else? No, that's all I have to say about any of this. Any idea how a B&W government in Israel would impact the Middle East and the Israeli-U.S. relationship that we've witnessed for the past 20 years? It'd change. I don't know by how much, but the Likud hardcore Zionists of the Netanyahu persuasion would be out of power. And that in and of itself would change the dynamic somewhat. You might even get in Israel that would be willing in some way or shape or form to finally sue for peace. So that's true. But it did bravely give its life in the service of its country. Fun fact. No tumor deserved a sentence like that. Well, but it bravely gave its life. And it will forever be mourned as a martyr for the cause and a true American hero. On a side note, I didn't see the Pamela Anderson takedown of creepy John McCain's daughter. My God, Meghan McCain is such a cunt. We can't get rid of Graham, unfortunately. He has no primary opponents, and the majority of Republican caucus in the state endorses him because South Carolina is deep in the throes of neoconservatism. Tom, why is Mark Levin such a warmonger and creep, and why do so many people look up to the scumbag? I could get all alt-righty on you and say because he's a Jew and he's a smart guy who sounds smart. But truth of the matter is, I don't know. I think it's just repetition. He's a very good radio host. I mean, he's very good at what he does. Don't ever. The worst part about, like, I listen to Nigel Farage all the time, and because he's actually the only radio show that I like. But understand that radio is a particular gig. It's a very particular set of skills, and you can be a complete and utter scumbag and having a brilliant radio show. Okay, and Mark Levin is good at that, and he became popular during a time when there weren't a lot of quote unquote conservatives on the radio, and so he's a champion of. Yeah, look, these neocons are very, 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 very good at sandbagging you. They will be good on certain issues that are near and dear to the people's hearts. And then when it comes to foreign policy, they turn into rabbit fucking trolls. And after they've got you, and you think you're that you're part of their community, and they're one of you, and then they turn around and they explain to you over and over again how important it is that we intervened the world over to bomb brown people for greater Israel. It works. Well, so Tweety Bird saying that The View doctored the video of Pamela Anderson's segment to make Meghan McCain look less reprehensible. Well, The View is reprehensible, so why would we expect anything less? There's an attempt to smuggle weapons in the sort of color revolution in Belarus. It is an exceedingly dangerous move because Lukashenko is not Yanukovych. Oh, Ben Shapiro that was the best thing about John Bolton getting fired. It wasn't that I would never have to write another article ever again about John Bolton. And believe me, that was good. That was fun. I even said that. I sent it when I sent it into Irina over at Strategic Culture last week. I said, "Here you go, Irina, and hopefully this is the last article I ever have to write about that reprehensible son of a bitch, John Bolton. Have a great day." It's just like, yes, I know. I hope so too. Congratulations. I'm like, we ain't out of the woods yet, baby. The second best thing about John Bolton getting fired was watching Ben Shapiro's eyebrow grow together. And him twitch like a little fucking bitch that he is. God, I hate that guy. Come on now. Someone has to bring forth the rapture. That explains friggin' South Carolina and Lindsey Graham. I mean, I'm done caring. I'm done being nice to these people. This is disgusting. Neoconservatives are disgusting. It's an ideology whose time has passed, and it has to end. And it's time to call a spade a spade, and it's time to just move into the future. These people are yesterday's news. They are all desperate to try and win in the last. This is the bottom of the ninth for them. There's 2 outs, and Gen X is on deck. Okay? How else do I have to put this? And I'm your quintessential Gen Xer. So guess what? I'm your barometer. We ain't fighting a war for Israel. If we have anything to say about it. The millennials are even more like, no, man, just let people be who they want to be. What's wrong with you? Why are you mad, bro? The second best thing that Trump did is to rip the mask off the never-Trumpers or all the neocons. Yeah, I mean, Ron Paul started that process, Green Penguin, but you're right that Trump really opened that wound wide open. But then he let them all back into the administration because they couldn't get anybody else through Congress. Because Congress is Israeli occupied territory. Until that changes, ain't much gonna change. But I got to give Tulsi Gabbard a lot of credit. She knows exactly what issues are important. She knows exactly what issues to hit the buttons on. I would like to see a sharper domestic policy out of her, but I know what her basic message is, and she stays on that basic message all the time. Why are we spending trillions of dollars overseas defending countries that don't do anything for us? We should be spending that money at home. And we can argue about whether or not the government should be spending the money in the first place, or whether the government should even collect that most of that money in taxes. That's not up for discussion in 2019 or 2020. That's up for discussion in 2030. unfortunately. That's going to take another 10 years. But we should at least start with the process of, hey, I'm okay with let's not spend $2 trillion overseas, and let's spend that money at home. And if we have to have the government doing it badly, if that's what I have to, if that's what I have to accept as the compromise to get something, to get the rest of the world, get us not spending the rest of our money on my money and my time and everything else, I got to spend it badly on ugly hospitals in Dubuque. In Dubuque, fine, I'm okay with that. If I got, as opposed to spending it on bombs and missiles and supporting fucking poppy fields in Afghanistan. That's a win. Take the win, move on. It ain't perfect, it ain't optimal, but don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Go with it. From what I can tell, both Gen X and millennials aren't nearly into greater Israel as boomers. No, it's all about this, where are all these neocon think tanks? I'll explain that part of it. And then why are all these neocon think tanks getting their funding? From all those greater Israel boomers. Where do you think they're getting it from? They're getting it from the Koch brothers. They're getting it from George Soros. They're getting it from the Ford Foundation and the Atlantic Council and all of this old freaking money. They're getting, and the money comes from the money comes as a consequence of the money that trickles down from the central bank, from the financialization of the United States economy and the European economy. Certainly the British economy and the American economy have been financialized to hell and gone. And all that money and all that money is being spent propagandizing us to do terrible things in their name. And we the saps keep working. I mean, John Galt was right, guys. He was just wrong about the way of going about it. He's right. I mean, Ayn Rand was right. These people are using your time and your money to enslave you to their will. That is true. It's fundamentally true. And it's never been more true in the era of central banking. If Tulsi teams up with, say, Jesse Ventura or Joe Rogan, third party, they could win. Most Americans are independents. Joe Rogan, yeah. Jesse Ventura, I don't think so, Mark Shear. Though I like Jesse, but I think his time is done. The rapture is on deck when we can all debate on how we can waste. All we can debate is how we can waste trillions. Middle East wars versus the Green New Deal. Oof. There's a terrible freaking thought. Wow, Havestian, thanks. That pretty much ruined my evening. In a sobering way, not in a you're an asshole kind of way. It's a really good point, actually. All right, Assange will stay in prison after his jail term comes to an end next week. Fears he will run wager. The last thing that the MI5 wants is Assange being extradited at the moment, full stop. Yeah, the whole thing with Assange is vile, right? It's just vile. Oh, true, the Koch brother, right. The Koch brother, yep. Yeah, well, Mango, man, I'm about out of here as well. So you take care. You have a great night. And that's it. We're at 58 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's contact Tulsi and Rogan and ask them to run together. Yeah, I mean, Joe Rogan couldn't be any worse a vice president than Joe Biden. I mean, if we're going to go whole hog, look, at the end of the day, I don't actually need these people to be these, be the wise philosopher kings running the world, socially engineering the world and fine-tuning the economy to make our lives better. I need them to stay the fuck out of my way so I can actually have a life. As a matter of fact, I would love it if they would all just go away so I wouldn't have to do this for a living. I have to go get a real goddamn job. Like, seriously. It would be a good thing. Shapiro cried when the Koch guy died. It's been a good month for liberty. Rogan would be better than Biden or Pence, far less evil than Cheney. It's already a clown show. Why not WWE or the Octagon? I've got my money on Joe Rogan then. He'll kick all their asses. I don't know. Kamala Harris would fight dirty, without a doubt. She'd eye gouge and shit. It'd be rough. But I mean, Joe Rogan would just take her out. Done. that guy's got like most of his life in martial arts. That guy's a fucking badass. So no, but Joe Rogan ain't got no Iraq or Afghanistan under fire stories. That's why I think Gabbard should be president as opposed to Rogan. I mean, if that was our ticket. Look, if it was Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Rogan on an independent ticket, I'm voting that. I'm voting it. Just I am. I don't give a shit. I know I live in Florida. I live in a swing state. I live in the most important swing state in America. Fuck it. I mean, if they run Warren Buttigieg, or for Christ's sake, Gabbard Rogan would come in second in half the states in the union. Like. All right, we're just veering off into La La Land at this point. I'm gonna go because that's usually the time we're doing this stuff. I'm out of here. All right, you guys, I enjoyed the shit out of this tonight. I actually didn't really even want to do a live stream, but as always, you guys make it worth doing. So, if you liked what you heard tonight, I'd be shocked if you did. But if you did, give a like and subscribe down below. Hit the little bell button for notifications for whenever I do this. But usually it's Monday nights at 8, Friday nights at 8:30. Every once in a while we do it at other times when I feel like it's worth talking about. As always, so, you know, you can subscribe over on Patreon. You can donate down below. Install Brave because it's a great browser and a great platform by which to strip money from the evil Google, who at this point has literally unmasked themselves as Dr. Evil. All right, you guys take care. You be well. Have a great night. Keep your stick on the ice.